Morena everybody, and welcome. And welcome to the Tangata Whenua Tauranga City Council Committee meeting of Wednesday, the 15th of February 2023. Just need to make everyone aware that we are live streaming this meeting, and the video is then publicly available. And a reminder to everyone to turn off their mobile phones or turn them on to silent. Welcome, Destiny. I don't think I've been at a meeting since you started, but welcome to the members. And can I ask Lance, thank you. Thank you.
Kia ora, Lance.
Kia ora. All right, so...
Just in a message from Paul, just saying if they can text.
Oh yes, yep. No, he spoke to me this morning, yep. Look, obviously I'm not Anthony Fisher, and so Anthony is unfortunately unable to be with us today, so as Deputy Chair I've stepped into the role. Could I start first by, we do have apologies from Anthony, from Stephen Selwood, who of course you can't get into, fly into Tauranga because the airport's closed, and Bill Wasley. And I think that's probably all the apologies we have. Thank you, Materi, and seconded by Destiny. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried.
Thank you. This is here for Marty.
Oh, and I'm sorry, and Marty Grenfell sends his apologies, and we have CJ with us today instead. So we'll just add that in. So we now have two speakers in the public forum, and first off is Buddy Mackay, who's with us here at the table. Buddy, you've got up to 5 minutes.
Clock started. From the head, mate. Kia ora, ngā mihi o te rā, kia koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. What I wanted to speak about, commissioners, staff and rangapu members, is about fly tipping. Fly tipping is the illegal dumping of either materials or liquid waste or that kind of thing. And what's brought this to the front of my mind, two incidences towards the end of last year. The first one was dumping of about 3 trailer loads of rubbish at the Tauranga Historic Reserve on Pies Park, Joyce's Road corner. And the second one was we had a group of volunteers and Tauranga City staff come and help us clean up the Otamataha Mission Cemetery site. And in both those cases, there were just trailer loads of rubbish had been dumped there. We found amongst the rubbish the names of the people involved. Well, we think they are. The first one is a Pies Pa resident. We gave that information to the council staff. I'm not sure if there was any follow-up on that. The second one was a very well-respected member of the Tauranga community. I just couldn't believe that was the kind of person who dumped their rubbish like that. So what it's led me to look at commissioners and staff and others is, do we have a sufficient regime to discourage those people? Because I know that the council organises inorganic rubbish collection from time to time. People have the ability to do that, or they can take it to the dump themselves or the transfer station at pretty minimal cost. So it's just sheer laziness as far as I can see. I have got some whānau living across the ditch in Australia and on the outskirts of Sydney, and one of the local councils there has a $250,000 fine for people found guilty of dumping in this way. And they also offer a free home service to people who have inorganic rubbish. We talk about things like mattresses and that kind of thing. Their council will come and take those away. So I'm just wondering, commissioners, if we could look at, first of all, introducing a fine of that magnitude, because it would certainly discourage me. And secondly, if we could perhaps look at offering a better inorganic collection service so that people don't have the excuse to go and do this kind of thing. And somebody must have known that I was going to talk about this morning, because this morning on my walk in the Kopu Rehirua Reserve, I came across piles of rubbish that had just been thrown over the fence. Somebody's garden waste, couldn't be bothered taking it somewhere else, so put it in plastic bags and throw it over the fence. So very discouraging. Anyway, I'm hoping, commissioners, that something can be done about this. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thanks, Buddy. We won't try and address that now because I don't think we know the details, but we will certainly have a look. I don't know what the penalties are. I do know that the staff follow up when they get an address, but we will come back to you with that. Thank you. And then we have Leanne Faulkner. Welcome, Leanne. You've got up to 5 minutes. And we do have your correspondence in front of us.
Kia ora, tātou katoa, ko te whānau a te hapu o Rurahine rau o Wakiti. Ko Leanne tuku Whenua, noko nei a hau. Just a 5-minute slot of your time. So what I have provided to the commissioners only for your perusal is the whakapapa in relation to what I received from a karawa of Ngāti Rurahine near Wakiti. And at the bottom you will see that karawa's name. So I was given that consent to have that provided to yourselves by the karawa who is available today, but not in attendance, unfortunately. So at the bottom of the whakapapa that's been provided, you will see Goro Te Reo Hau, or Gordon Ranui's name. He has since passed some time ago. Now, just in relation to that whakapapa, and I will read it out for all who are in attendance, I would like that returned immediately after, simply because the kawa is to not provide whakapapa outside of our own hapu. However, as we all know, within tikanga and kawa o ngā tangata whenua o Aotearoa, is that you can receive that whakapapa through poheri, through tangihanga, te mea. So I would like that collected, please. And what I will do is just go through that whakapapa for everyone who is here, including our tangata whenua representatives. So, just very quickly, tamatia ariki nui, rongo kako, tamatia pōkai whenua, rangi nui, mai taua hononga ka puta ko tamaiti, ko kura puri te hoa rangatira. Ka puta a tamatiti ko tama tauru, ka puta nukupango, ka puta kōkoti, ka puta te tupuna karaua ko rangi nui. Me tōna hoa rangatira, ko te tupuna whaia, ko urutomo. Ka puta atu te renga, ka puta te kāponga, ka puta a pata, ka puta a ngariunga, ka puta a tahu mō uku, ka puta te kaweroa, ka puta te wai o or, unu toto, ka puta a wakaiti, or waitara. He ingoa tuarua. Ka puta ataiti, ka puta a te rānui. Ko tērā te whakapapa wakaiti rawa ko ruahine. Ko wai tātou, ko wakaiti, engari, ko ruahine, ko te whaia, i te taha kahu whaia. No te karaua o kino nui, he tungane a rangi nui. I also want to pay respect to the two documents that I have provided you with in terms of the marae, ko Ngāti Wakaiti Te Hapu ki konei, as gazetted in the two papers evidenced before you with regard to the Māori Land Court. Nō reira, tēnei te mihi ki a koutou katoa i tēnei rā. Ngā mihi ki a koe, Anne, rawa ko Shadrach, mo tō mahi kaupapa o te whānau, te hapu hoki ki konei. Nau mai hara mai ki Waimapu pā, ko te pā, te tuatahi ne, kari e te marae, he marae ātia tērā. Anō hoki, tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou katoa.
Thank you very much, Leanne, and we have just note that we received that information and hand back the whakapapa, please. Okay, so that brings us to the chairperson's report, and I am going to ask, because Anthony isn't with us, Puhiraki, but before we did, I just wanted to put on record, I think, the thanks of, on behalf of the Tauranga City Council, but actually the thanks of the whole community of Tauranga, thanks to the marae that opened their doors during the recent cyclone. And although fortunately we didn't need them in any great numbers, but to know that they were available and ready and willing, and I know some people did have to take advantage of that, so I would like to have that thanks formally recorded. And I should have done it in the other order, I'm aware, but I do want to acknowledge that many of us here have whānau right throughout New Zealand who are severely impacted by not only the cyclone, but that's the most recent, but actually we have had two significant other storms, and here in Tauranga we have families that are out of their homes, that have lost their homes and can never go back, and whānau that are have been severely disrupted too. So again, want to put on record our thoughts with all of those. And on that note, I'll hand over to you. And you're going to make it short and sweet, I understand.
Up to 3.
I'm not timing you.
Kia ora no tātou, e tuaka nei I runga te kaupapa o te rā nei, no reire e tuatahi kei te mihi atu ki a koe taku whanaunga e te rangatira a Lance Motua. Karakia whakatimata o te rei hui, o te rā nei, no reire, tēnā koe. Tēnā tātou katoa, ngā memo o te rangapū, mana whenua o Tauranga mōna, me ngā kuia, ngā Pākeke, ngā rangatahi. Ngā memo o tēnei rōpū, kia kōrua, ngā rangatira o te komihana, no reira, tēnā kōrua, kia koutou, kia tātou, ngā memo o te RNW, noho nei I wangani tēnei tēpuru. No reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. So, yeah, it's my pleasure to speak briefly on behalf of the Chair's report. Having had it sprung upon me, I'm sure it will be very poto, very short. However, a few things just to mention, and I guess the first thing is about Matatini. As you all know, Te Sapanui, that Matatini is starting next week, and on Wednesday, the 22nd, will be the time for our two kapahaka rōpū, i.e. Ngāti representing Ngāti Ranganui and Ngaitarangi on that day. It'll all be live streamed and whatever, all that stuff. So watch it live. I don't know the exact times. Perhaps you can get in touch with your iwi to find that out, but it would be, I'm sure, well worth watching from Eden Park in Auckland. Whenua. Carrying on from there, briefly about the harbour, and as you all know that the port is wanting to extend parts of their operation and some dredging, etc. And it has been there has been challenges coming from various parts of the iwi hapu, various hapu individually. Some of the hapu have collectivised in terms of iwi putting in submissions, etc., in terms of the resource consents. I believe, I think, June, July. Anyone confirm that? The hearings, I think. 50? Oh, sorry, they're coming up now. That's the... Yeah, first, but it's going on for quite a while.
To the 17th of March.
Of March. Thank you, Fitty. 27th of Feb to the 17th of March. So that's significant for us because some... Oh, how long ago was that, Shan? For the first hearings we had no condensation.
2010.
2010, 13 years ago. The port did some extensions on the dredging, and the iwi of the Moana and the Hapu challenged that through the appeal court, and we lost. And it cost us a pretty penny, I can assure you, of that. So we're pretty serious this time to ensure that, one, we don't want to happen, and two, if it does, there are going to be certain conditions, etc. And we're working through that now. So that's what's coming up. The other thing of significance that I want to report on is hopefully getting to the final of our raupatu treaty settlements, and that is on behalf of the three iwi that we're going through our final settlement process, which involves to do with the Crown properties, all the Crown properties in the Moana, etc., and other estates run by DOC and all those sort of things, co-management, governance, etc., return of certain Crown property lands. Now, a couple of years ago, after having gone through a very long process of dealing with trying to get our final settlement across the line, and of course we then had about 8 years ago, or maybe a bit longer, Hauraki came in and claimed over the top of us in some things. We've been working on that with the Crown, and for the last 6, 7, 8 years, and it's getting to a stage where the year before last we decided that the tikanga process was the way to go. We've been working through that. There is one, and I can say from Tauranga, as I'm a member of that board, who are, I guess I can say that who are leading this process, that it has been decided that we'll give it one more shot in terms of tikanga. So we of Tauranga, and I believe some of our negotiators have been talking with the other two iwi in terms of setting up another final hui, which will be in Hauraki's Rohe, probably in Pairo somewhere again, given the last one was at Pirirako, and to have one last shot. If that doesn't work, we're going to cut that process and go straight back to the Treaty Settlement Minister and deal direct and say, we want to finalise ours, and you do what you will, or whatever you decide with Hauraki. So that is a very brief update on that. So we're getting pretty tired of too much of this, and we're not getting a long way very fast. That's pretty much it, people. There's probably some other things that I just can't think of at the moment, but they are the significant ones. Nō reira, tēnā koutou. Thank you, Madam Chair. Tēnā tātou katoa.
Kia ora. Would someone like to move that we receive the chairperson's report? Ngātere and Shad. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Now, I'm aware we've got a significant audience, which is great. We've just got a few housekeeping things we've got to go through before we get to the presentation from your marae. So just bear with us while we go through that. So we have no late items that I've been made aware of. Oh, we have?
Just to start off a discussion, when it comes around to trade, just on the makeup of the regional spatial strategy.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes. Well, I don't think we can discuss that today, but why don't we put that down as an item to discuss? I mean, I agree, it's really important. Before a whole lot of other people start making up their minds about how it's going to work, we want to hear from you. So if the staff take a note, and we'll, okay.
I wanted to raise the briefly as possible the 3 waters.
Oh, okay. Where we're up to with that? Why don't we come back to that after in general business? You want an update on the 3 waters and the process and where we're up to? Yep.
And how it relates to what our claim.
Right.
Because
We might not be able to get that far, but we can certainly give you an update on where the council is, and Mātere can give us an update. On the submission. And the submission that we're making to government. So if we put that down for general business, thank you. We have no confidential business to be transferred into the open. We've got no change to the order of business. That brings us to the minutes in the agenda for the 23rd of June meeting. Are there any corrections to that?
I'll move them as true and correct.
Thank you.
20th of June 2021.
2021. Is that right?
Yeah, it's got
Yes. Oh, right, you were there. Oh, well, who was there that can...
Hui Kaka, that was his last meeting.
That was his last meeting. Ngātere, you were there, so you seconding it? Right, okay. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Minutes. It was 2 years. The day the Prime Minister came, it was our 2-year anniversary. We all traipsed through Mark's house. So then we've got the 23rd of June minutes.
30th of November.
Oh, 30th of November minutes, sorry. 2022, we're getting up to date. Thank you. And someone second? Destiny, thank you. Were you?
She was here.
She was there. Yes, that was the first meeting. Yes, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried.
Yes, and then again.
Yep. On the table here. Just there on the table, just beside CJ. Oh, there's some at the back. Thank you. Right. Yes, it is a bit of a book. Okay, so that then brings us to the presentation by the marae, which is. Oh, I beg your pardon. Yeah, sorry. I better follow any declarations of conflicts of interest. No? Okay. Good. That brings us then to the presentation from the marae, which is the main reason we're here. So, who's going to take us through that? Oh, right. Okay.
You're up.
We're up to you.
Just before we get into this presentation, we're a little bit unorganised. We've only just got this in the last 3 days. So just bear with us.
That's all right.
We'll go through it together. So the copies you have in front of you is what's on the PowerPoint.
Oh,
Thank you.
tapa.
Kia ora whānau. Just want to acknowledge everyone for coming today. And so today, on behalf of our kaumātua Kini Piahana, this is his presentation, and I'm going to do my best to justify and enlighten you as much as I can, or decipher as much as I can today. So, yeah, kia ora. Just a brief kōrero on our whakapapa. So, Ngāti Ruahine is our hapu. We are a sub-tribe of Ngāti Ranginui. We are descendants of our tūpuna who travelled to Aotearoa and our takitumu waka, captained by Tamatea Arakinui. Ngāti Ruahine hapu descend from both Ranginui and his brother Kinonui. Ranginui's great-grandson Kahuwhaia married Ruahine, who was the great-granddaughter of Kinonui and the daughter of the Tuhuna Taiwhanaki. Taiwhanaki is our chief who lived on Mawa with Kinonui and other whānau from Tauranga. This is just a brief outline of our marae, and as you can see, this is our urupa and our beautiful river. This is our tūranga wāwai. Kia ora. Ko te kaupapa tāwhito, this is our beautiful wharenui over here. This has been established since 1867. Our karawa at the time built our tradition on mana motuhaki. Our tūpuna Te Rānui and Te Uata lived in Huria. Before moving here with the whānau, when they migrated to Waimaku. Te Rānui and Te Uata then Te Rānui and the whānau then decided to journey to Akiaki, which is Taumata. And known as, and Te Oata, which is our tupuna, decided to remained here at Waimapu with his whānau. So if our kuia want to elaborate or correct me on anything, please do so. I'm doing my best, so please do so. So not only are we the only marae, not only are we the marae,
It's all right, let's just take your time.
Our whare te kaupapa tāwhito means the teachings of the Old Testament.
Okay.
Our wharenui was used for karakia, te rā hāpiti, and te kaumārua, and also tangihana. The kawa of Waimapu marae is te ringa tūhahi. So this is what distinguishes us from other marae in our rohi, is our ringa tūhahi. Thank you. I'd like to pay homage to our whānau in Taumata. E wharenui is te rei nui ao. Our wharenui here to kaupapa tāwhito. So our connection is they were two brothers, and they came from Huria, they lived here, then they decided to, one brother, which was Te Rānui, decided to take his whānau up Taumatua, and our whānau Te Uata stayed here, and and this is why we are kin to Taumata. So, yeah. So we are on the riverbank of Waimapu, which is our awa, that stretches all the way up to Taumata, or Tāne Wainoku, Oropi. And our Kitia Ruahine, our Waimapu estuary. So you guys all know the legend of Mawa and how our river was carved out all the way to Mawa. How Mawa was our river was carved by Mawa from our Patupairihi, who dragged our Mawa out to where it sits today. So yeah, our Kitia Ruahine was full of abundance of tuna kairoro, which is our long fin tuna. So we are kaitiakitanga of our tuna kairoro. We want to preserve our tuna kairoro as much as we can, knowing facts that our long tuna are near extinct. So, yeah. So the ongoing conversation of restitution and that how we redress our obligations so we can continue to restore our position and status as tangata whenua. To uphold our mana of our haukainga, to protect and preserve our whenua so that our descendants and our future generation can enjoy. So we also like to acknowledge our ongoing partnership and recognise them with the Crown, and also our ongoing partnership with you guys. Yeah. So our aim is to set priorities to maintain our customary presence. So that will be to work with you guys. I'm presuming that's what Kenny wanted to put out, that we continue so we can work towards these, or I think we are continuing working with these already. And yeah, I think in our wastewater plant, a lot of this was recognised with you guys. So yeah, I'd like to acknowledge that. I'm going to have my cousin Kelly Walker come in and speak on the wastewater system, yeah, and give a quick update on that. So, this one.
Kia ora whānau. Okay, the Rangapu. Auntie Alison is she's on the board of the Rangapu, which, you know, they support us in quite a lot of things. We'd like to thank the Rangapu for all the contributions and everything they do for us. But you know, out of the Rangapu, we've got our new wastewater system all up and running on the marae. Mm-hmm. You know, we're all ready to cater for emergency, any needs if necessary. We can service all the papakainga homes here if they want to connect. There's something we can look forward to. You know, thanks to the whole Rangapu system that we were able to get this in place. And yeah. Is there another slide I can put to? Switches over to mine. Okay. So the marae order, we've completed our stage 1, which is all the, got the aspiration. In the form there's an aspiration mind map of what all the hapu wanted on our marae. And so we've completed our first stage of the Oranga Marae, and now we're on to stage 2, which is the technical feasibility stage. So, can you go to? So we met with a designer, Darren Grant Design, and he's an architectural designer, and so he'll run through. He's got all these guys that work for him, so we're just going to deal with one guy. This guy has done work with Tawhiti Nui out at Omakaroa, I think, or Wairoa. But yeah, so we've decided to go with him because instead of us going out to look for each individual architect or, you know, he'll do everything for us. So, so we're looking forward to stage 2, and yeah, just watch the space. Is that it? Is that it? Yeah, I'll hand you back to you, Charmaine.
Okay. Oh no, I've got one. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Did you work with him?
No,
all
not
day?
at all. I reckon just read through it.
Okay.
Yeah, give it time.
I'll pop back on the side for you, Whenua. Oh, what I can decipher from this is that I think we need to protect and enhance our water quality. Being that I know our our rivers down there have been polluted time and time again, and as a result, we are unable to access or use our rivers how we would like to, and how they did before in the old time. As much as we can no longer do that. You know, times have changed, and we as a hapu want to put customary or manage our waterways so we can protect and preserve those waterways, and also our long fin tuna. So the need for the freshwater management is a must. We need resources as well. We'll probably need help with being able to definitely navigate connections to help protect or to help us manage our water so it can stay fresh. This kōrero I would like to pass on to Kelly again.
So talking about our awa, this across the river, this is a tree that's fallen over, and we're wanting help to resolve this, because these trees here should never have been planted there, because being too close to the river, and as you can see they're way too high. So we're wanting help, because every big storm that we have, either a tree falls over in the river, which blocks everything up, and which is corroding our bank to where the urupara is. See another picture? As you can see here. Now this was taken just before the real bad weather we had, so we haven't been down there within the last couple of days, so I'm assuming it'll be worse than this. So once again, all we're asking for is, your fellas' help, where we can come up with a solution to fix the problem. We know what the problem is, get rid of the tree, but it's getting to it, the resources to get to it, and to fix what needs to be fixed to stop it from happening.
The access,
So this gap here is just, well, really it's talking about us at the moment. There's a gap there that, we need response from you guys. So the more we close the gap, the better communication we'll have together, and the better will be for the marae to function more better as a committee and as a trust. So, cool.
In a community. Yeah.
Is he? Cool, thank you.
What's on the next thing? So these are some of our aspirations in the short term. On behalf of our hapu, I would like to make these aware. We have our rangatahi that walk along our roads here to and from school, and then our transport depot, the closest transport depot for them to catch the bus is right at the end of our Pa Road here, and the length you see driving up here today, there's about 3 hidden corners, so it's really unsafe. It's been like that for years. When I was a little kid, I would catch the Mangatapu school bus, and me and my siblings will be huddled on the road, and then we'll carry on and walk, and whānau will come zooming around. So some whānau who are from here know to slow down. The whānau that either coming on to visit or not from here, they are unaware. There's no sign saying slow down, kids walking, there's no pedestrian there. So that's a need for our tamariki. Yeah. There's also the polytech down here. Even our older whānau would like to access from easy access from here to there. So, in light of having a footpath, the need for lighting would occur here. So that's another one there which will go hand in hand for our tamariki and our people to be able to have that resource or access for us. I think we only have one light post in at the moment, or 2? Yeah, we've got one at the end of the road. So, and one right down at the end by Waikato. But in that gap there's a lot of darkness at night, and it's really unsafe for our rangatahi, especially for them going to and from school.
Put it on our little eye list.
Just if I can say one thing with the footpath, if you have 2 cars on the road, the kids pretty much have to go really close to the bank, just to
There's a drop there, eh? Yeah.
So, a footpath is the ideal solution. Just so you've got a barrier in between the cars and the tamariki.
And it's clear that there's people walking.
Yeah. So that'll be a must for us. Like, we would like that. And as for the playground, well, we would like something for the tamariki here to, because otherwise they're just out on the roads. We want to get them into a safe environment. So I think
Keep them in a safe environment.
A good step to, occupy their needs.
Swing on the slides. We might have a few of
Well, times have changed, and I think we're trying to adapt with the time. So, some sort of entertainment to stimulate our children's minds and, mentally.
I know when you've got 2 cars coming down the road, you still have to go off the road. And so that means you're going to have to take more land, and I'm not for that, but still just get in there. So that means taking land off, us again, or for our own.
I know that there has to be a compromise somewhere, but I would rather have it that way than taking the kids' life.
Yeah.
So rather go that way.
There's a bit of room.
Well, kia ora. The thing is, I think the kids find it more safety-wise when they're at the upa. The people, I've heard some people say, the kids shouldn't be in there. But in the upa, you've got all the balloons, you've got all these things that are flashing around with the kids.
So that becomes our kids' playground,
And the kids see it and they've got nowhere else to go. So when they go there, they feel more safe. And at the end of the day, it's the whānau that's gone from there don't want the next generation paying things over there because they're kids themselves. The thing is that we need our kids to make sure they're going to be safe, to make sure they stay safe. And I think that's like any other experience around here. So yeah, that's the main thing. But everything else, the main point that I've always had my nightmares about this is where the ground is corroded. Something has to be done, because if we can't get anything fixed, and that can't get fixed, you can't put anything on uncharted waters or anything like that, or you can't put, a house needs a foundation. And if it hasn't got that foundation put in place, then it's going to lean over, and it's going to just drop. So everything for us at the moment is for where the urupa is and everything around. That's just to uphold our marae, because if we haven't got that and everything falls into place, we ain't got no marae. So the main importance is to try and get this thing sorted out with the ground corroded. Because I'm against that, and I've seen a lot of people. So we want our people to stay here and make sure they reach it, not go down in the ground and try to go somewhere else. So that's my concern about everything else for our kids, our next generation, and how can we not look after them, we can't even look after ourselves. So that's why we need help from you guys to hopefully you guys can give us clarifies of things what we need to do. Joe.
You know, we have a brief discussion in terms of the resources. I think there's a responsibility of Wakahi, because they've got the road. The road has impact on the community. So they have a responsibility to do those walkways properly, safely, and all those issues. The other issue is education department should be dragged into it too, for the benefit of the young people. So they should be brought to it. It's not only the responsibility is not only of Tauranga City Council to be the big bankrollers. It actually needs this council to lobby the resources to achieve this. Because the marae is very important. It's actually parliament of the hapu. That's where you discuss politics. The tikanga, the kawa, the whole shimozu. So it's a parliament on its own that has existing use rights, because those existing use rights came well before the developments to the marae. And as the developments occur, the culture and the pattern on the marae changes to accommodate the massive explosion. So it's about lobbying the resources in order to do that, not take it on your own and think you're going to bankroll a lot for your rate bills. It needs Department of Conservation to clean up the right areas and all that. So they got a budget to do that, snatching. And the Education Department has a budget there for the well-being of the young people. Snatch. So it's about how you lobby the resources. That's what I just want to say. Bit long.
Yep.
Thank you for that kōrero.
Kia ora, ko Aruwuka no mai, ko te iwi o rangi e whānau katoa. Just to tautoko your kōrero in regards to the health and safety of our children getting to and fro, is that ruahine ngaitahi, ngaitamara wao, ngaitahi have been very involved with Tauranga City Council in our roads in that development. Unfortunately, we seem to miss our own. We seem to be looking after our community in our home. And our road conditions have been like this, mairanga. Yeah? So I totally tautoko not only the footpath, but actually the access on the main roads to our papakainga, our tūranga waiwai, o our marae. So in that alliance that we have, unfortunately, we don't address the roads that come into our marae. It's usually the connecting routes, the state highways that we are putting in, footpaths, cycleways, but yeah, it's not inclusive. And it's something that we're remiss of ourselves, sitting there as tangata whenua. Yeah, we do push, but we need to push even more. So just want to acknowledge the work of mana whenua and Tauranga City Council about that, but we don't become the priority. But here today, I think that's what you're saying, and I'm taking your kōrero all the way through.
Thank you. Thank you for your
But
kōrero.
unfortunately, it does take time.
It does.
First question for me would be, is the road vested in the council? Or is it
Up
private
to a
road,
point.
or is it your guys' road?
There's-
Up to a certain
Council.
point, eh? Right.
Well, that's a good start off from vested in me.
Probably if I can add a couple of things, I think awesome whānau, it's good to see that you guys have had a kōrero about what you want.
Yeah.
Because I think in my time at council, we wouldn't come into your community until you want these things and you want that, because it's going to be a disruption. But I can pretty safely say we'll get somebody from transport to come out and assess it with you. Let's go up and down this road and assess it for the safety aspect especially, and see how we might go about getting a path there. And then we can work out all the rest of it, who needs to be involved from there. But if we do that fairly quickly, then we're making that plan with you, eh? And then also you can determine, where do you think those lamp posts go? And transport might say, well, it makes sense for them to be here. We can do that together. And then by that time we come up with a bit of a plan. Same with the playground. We don't know how we might be able to support in that space, but first and foremost we can get one of our parks people to come out and have a talk to you about where things make sense, both from your point of view as you live here and you know where your kids like to be, but also we'll have a test around and see what resources are there at council. So I love this list because it's something that you guys are telling us that you want in your community, and it gives us a chance to support you. So well done, and I've got a couple of notes here to get our transport person out here alongside your guys' committee and assess that road with you. Not come and say, well, this is what we think after hearing this, but do it with you. And the same with the lamp posts and the playground. We'll get a couple of people out. I know they're keen because, we know that Waimapu has been out here doing the best that it can, the park and the people around it. So when we get a trigger like this that gives us some direction on how we can help, then we should do that with you. So just to reassure you, there's a couple of notes here for us to bring out a transport person and a parks person, have that kōrero with you, and then whatever barriers, challenges come up, some of that road is narrow, as you say, it might require some whenua or not, or might need a little bridge or whatever, we can actually work that out together.
Troy, that's what
And
we
then,
want.
and then from our point of view,
All we need.
and you'll hear us go through it later on in the agenda, then we keep an eye that that's all happening. So each meeting we have a report on what are the things that have been discussed as we go around all the different marae, so it doesn't just get talked about here and then disappear. So we hold them to account and want to know, so what's happening, what are the actions that are then coming out of it.
If there's a bit of area that needs, that needs to be taken, or needs, I'm wondering if there's going to be an appetite for this community for putting in a public works act, taking if it needs that much further.
Well, let's have a look at it. Let's have a look at it. See what's needed.
Yeah, we can work out the solutions as we go. So one thing also is, with regards to the log jam too, that was just brought up just before, it looks like a regional council matter, but I was just saying to Anne, there's no reason we can't get a hold of our neighbours and try and help you get that response. Say, I know how it feels
You
when
need
you're
the tree
who's
gone.
going to let us know what the hell to do. So we've got some ways we might be able to help. We'll work it out with regional, and then we'll work it out with you guys and see what we can do and try and have it. And you're already looking at the other trees, right? So we'll look at the log jam and the other trees, and the least we can do is advocate with our neighbours, our friends at regional, to make sure you get that response. So we'll just team up and see if we can get it sorted out.
Through you, Madam Chair, kia ora, Carlo, for mentioning regional council, because you're absolutely right in that regard. I just want to make mention of the trusts that are formed along that roadway. So, for example, myself and Shanae and Sudani Walker here sitting on Puiki 11, 13 and 15 as land trustees. So prior to Shanae and her uncle Danny coming on board, we actually had a few wānanga, and that was in relation to a spatial plan, and that included all sorts of other projects. And that's where the whānau actually brought that to us in relation to the playground that Shanae has mentioned. And we also have something in the works for the lamp posts, because that was also brought up in that arena. But we are mindful of the fact that there's another trust and other private owners closer to the road that leads to Ohawiti. Just to be mindful of what's happening in the river that my whanaunga Kelly has brought to everyone's attention, is that we don't want to lose that root system either, which is a natural deterrent to any erosion, because my cousin Danny is absolutely correct. And just to be mindful that we want to keep it as natural as possible. So, kia ora tātou.
Thank you. I think the first thing is to get someone out to have a look at it, talk with you about what your aspirations are, and then start looking for where are the problems, and how do we resolve those together, and then it'll go into the process, and then the next job is to try and find some money.
Our definite priority would be to resolve whatever we can within the raiding corridor, for example. So we don't impact our whānau if we don't have to. So, and we'll assess it and go from there.
And just in response to aroha mai, matua maru, aroha mai. And just in response to that, if we could have this come back to a hapu hui, that would be fabulous, because then we can all work together in tautoko. Nera. Ai, kia ora.
I like that kōrero. Thank you, Leanne.
Can I make a comment? I'm always vouching on who pays the piper. Now, there's a validation for this to be endorsed. If you look at the port of Tauranga, is the access to the globe, and all roads lead to access to the globe. And these are roads that leads to the regional economy. The regional economy is a big part of the national economy, so that's the political pitch as to who pays the piper. All those who are guilty of putting those infrastructures in. And I just gave you a shopping list of some of them. So that's the political pitch if you want to convince Parliament.
Yeah, look, it sounds easier than it is. The reality is you're right, you're absolutely right. And I think when we talk with, and Irene mentioned it, when we start talking with these government agencies now about the changes that they're making and the roads that they're building, we are now starting to look and talk much wider about the impacts that they're having, particularly on the environment. But look, we know from some of the advocacy that we're doing to get funding out of some of those ministries for Tauranga that it should have had perhaps 20 years ago. As I joked before, I could be dead before we get the money. Let's see what we can do so that your tamariki are safe, because in the end that's the key thing, and we will keep talking with government agencies about taking responsibility for the changes that they make in communities. Yeah. But in the meantime, let's focus and see if there's something we can do to make sure that the kids are safe as they walk to and from school. No, I have had, because I run a clinic once a month where anyone comes and talks to me, and I have had this footpath raised with me in one of the clinics. Sorry?
These are new trustees?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
The old trustees that have already done the same.
They've voiced our opinion, Mum. They have. But today.
Yeah, but today's the day where we put it on the table with everyone sitting around. This is a good opportunity, and it's on your patch so that you can tell us as you are how you want it to work. And so I think first step is to get some of our people come in. We've got a lot of people out with chainsaws cutting up trees and things. We might be able to.
I think we're going to need bigger.
All right. Is everyone happy with what we're proposing? Nothing more on that
I
issue?
think that was our objective today, and for me, getting the head nod kind of settles me knowing that I managed to get our issues across.
Yeah,
and,
that's good. That's good.
It sounds like we have a partnership and a willingness to make solutions.
Yeah.
So we can, tick things off our list.
Yes.
So I just want to go on about our rivers and all that. So an add-on to our Wamapu River is the Taito and the
Waiorahi. Waiorahi.
Oh, and that one. And or what? Oahine. Is the Taito and the what the other one? One on Taumata Road? Anyway, they come down and they form the Kōpuriri River.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are our rivers too. And then we've got the other river, Kotimaku, and then we've got the other river. We've got all our rivers anyway, but just that's part of us as well, Wamapu, Taumata and all that. So, and our Wamapu River goes right out to the estuary there, and beyond. So Whenua would quite be for that, but nah. But yeah, so just want to,
acknowledge
it's not
our...
just down here, it's all the way up, So yeah. Cool.
Kia ora.
I think we just want to acknowledge, it's not just one up we get through here and all the other marae that are around that part of the whole history as well. So, we don't want to leave anyone out, we're all in there, so, and let's stay in there. Halfway, that's the way.
So, you're absolutely right, and I'd say from the Commission's point of view, we're very concerned that the levels of water in those significant water sources for drinking water for the city show that they're gradually dropping over time, which means we're not managing use, quality and demand.
And that's what we
and so we can't resolve that on our own, and we are working with our regional council partners and our Western Bay partners. There's a big study being done on water sources and how we manage that. In the meantime, Tauranga City over the last 2 years, it's been a bit hard over this last summer, but trying to get an education program that educates people about the value of water and to respect it and to use it sensibly and sparingly, because it's going to run out, and that's the reality. So we brought Waiari on stream just before Christmas, but all of those major river sources are dropping in levels, and so it's not. It is quite a serious thing for this region to be thinking about. So you're not. I guess what I'm saying is you're not the only ones that are concerned, and that often doesn't give you much comfort. But I can assure you that we are very focused with those partners on how we make sure A, we value water, and B, we preserve it and conserve it wherever possible, and keep it as pure as we possibly can, and then allow for reasonable demand. And that might mean that the city has to invest in things like reservoirs, and there's a whole range of things that we can look at. But you just cannot keep taking from the rivers because they are running lower. So,
just one other opportunity, if I know too. I am aware that there's a Waimapu catchment plan that's being pulled together, and I would expect that that's going to involve you guys in having hapuhui. I think Kenny Piahana's leading that. That's a powerful place for you guys to have your voice, because that would inform anything that we're doing. So I'm not sure what stage that's at. I would expect it's quite early on in the piece, but That's somewhere we would love to see you guys having wānama and feeding in, so that you can really show what you expect from any planning processes from there. And it's a place where you don't have to worry about the rules we're subject to. You can express yourselves how you see fit ātikanga, eh?
You know, and talking about the resources, you know, we do have Puna Springs and that on the Whenua. You know, we just need the guidance of water management, you know, to how to utilise that. You know, maybe not be on the mains water. You know, we may have enough here to sit with the needs of the hapu. But we just need, you know, just help in how to make our water more better quality, and that'll suit the needs of the hapu. So that's just something
we can utilise
we can look forward to moving forward.
Okay. Make a note of that. Thank you.
Kia ora, Lee.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, through you again, Madam Chair. I just want to make mention of the fact that Kenny is involved in our Waimapu catchment area plan that Carlo has just made mention of. So with regard to that catchment area, and as my cousin Barbie had mentioned earlier, because of those tributaries that are coming in, we are expected, because we're talking about protocols and expectations, we are expected to have full use of that water for our marae, for our hapu. And because our lands, as it was earlier stated, go right up to Tauranga, heading into Tauriko, as well as into the CBD with our Ngā Kamara Waka whānau. So I'm referring to the fact that Ranui had two wives, right? Mere Te Ano and Mere Te
Ano.
Mere Te Ano and Mere Te Arama. Kia ora koutou. So that's why those lands are very significant, and that's where our Ngātiahi whānau come in as well. So it's really important that Waimapu catchment is taken into serious consideration, as well as while we're heading up to Auckland and Waimapu. So my uncle Mark has spoken about what had happened in the past in terms of an agreement that was made with the Tauranga City Council, so I would like to see that revisited, and that should be in the historical information provided as well to TCC. And sorry, but I'm looking at you, Carlo, so hopefully you take note of that.
There is a consenting process.
Yeah, we're aware that the current sources need to be reconsented, I think, in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So part of that catchment plan and then what that means for the consenting processes for those two takes needs to be factored in.
Yeah.
But that'll all be done along with you.
So just so the committee knows, that team that's in charge of working up towards those renewals has been working with Rangapu and have formed a committee there. Then you would have seen those, or if you've missed those, that's the place to connect back in, because the idea is to see if it can be drawn up as a joint consent where your whānau are involved right alongside council and managing that stuff together. So that's a big opportunity.
So I'm imagining that Waimapu Marae will have a hui in relation to this presentation and make it available to the hapu. So the hapu may have some input and output.
Absolutely.
Basically what you're asking now is because of the water schemes and that, your farmers want to be able to hook up.
Our marae as well, especially to our puna reo, if we can, and if there is resources to help us utilise that, would love that guidance there.
The that'll be part of your teams when you guys start having input to the water catchment planning tools and all that, you know, asking for, I don't know what you call it, bit of leeway here and you get a bit of water there, whatever, you know, that's up to you how your team will negotiate that within those planning tools.
It's just behind you. Just behind you.
I grew up the road. I just like to, I know it's time not running out. So thank you for the kōrero. Something very, very important. We learned to bomb down here when the council had built this platform. Little did we know it was supplying everyone all the water and all the raru that it was causing here. And another fact to that matter is if you had a bombing competition right now, this fella here, Kelly, would have won. Because, and I really like to think back to those times because I've seen here a lot of given for the city from our kaumātua and a lot of them are gone. You know, they've made these agreements, blessed roads, dare I say it, and being asked to do sewage, but all the best for the people. And even for my kaumātua, hearing when they were my age, when they were running around what they had to do for their kaumātua, and that was for the likes of the developments that were happening through Greeton. Very tapu stuff, really, to allow progress. And to see the small requests and hearing it as well as it's being put, I really think it's achievable. And I think it's achievable. I felt to stand up in kōrero because I'm also on the Three Waters Project Steering Committee. And part of my role is to actually provide some of that technical expertise. So just mind mapping at the stage and mapping around our marae and rural, especially rural and even papakainga, the connectivity, because all these issues are very common. And it's only not so far back in history when and it's in the pūrākau, all our water comes from one source, and that's all Tāne Wainuku. The waiari comes from Te Rerenga, from a sacred puna, ngā puna atua. The waiarohi, the waiora by the times down here because of there are a lot of our pepeha associated, and with that pepeha, maunga, awa, puna, marae, taniwha, pūrākau, they all come together. And I think we need to be, what I find is that we need to be more cognizant of that in our design and planning. So I'm hoping through that perspective with the Three Waters project, I can get some influence on how we think geographically, geospatially, and produce something. Just talking to the bro here, yeah, it is a bit of work. It has to be done. You can't stand and moan and just explain, you got to get this. Someone has to go and work with others to achieve that. And this is an example of many rural marae and papakainga where at Whetū needed access to water, and it came up very importantly when there was a fire. So yeah, without saying anything any more, labouring their point that it's a big issue with the connectivity of our marae to both sewerage and water services and what that may bring in the roading corridor. Nō reira, kāre kume ki aro tēnā koutou katoa.
Thank you. I think we need to keep moving. I think we had a good kōrero. I think we do need to keep moving on. Yeah, well...
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair, just very quickly, just to wrap up in a nutshell what Des has spoken about and in support of what Des is talking about, and what Whiti has also been alluding to throughout this time, is that the issue is that there's population that's growing in Tauranga and it's constantly having an impact on our resources. So that's what this is all about
That's right.
too, in terms of
That's right.
3 years.
Yeah, that's right. I think I'm on record saying it's like a broken record, but actually growth has overwhelmed Tauranga, is what the Commission have found. And you have to manage growth, you have to manage it in such a way that it doesn't have this effect on the people who live here, who've lived here for many generations, and also the new people that have come in. So that's been a big focus for the Commission, is how we actually start managing growth in such a way that it doesn't have those long-term detrimental effects. And that's why we come out and talk to, while we've said we won't go and meet in the council, we'll come out onto the marae and we'll have these discussions about what those effects actually are and how we can avoid them in the future, but how we can also put right what we're able to.
Okay. Cool.
But I do think we need to move on.
Thank you. Yes, we are going to move on. So we've covered these two. I'd just like to briefly talk about what the wastewater plant was able to do for us.
Yes.
In terms of making our waterways able to cater for emergency events. So we would like to acknowledge that we are in the process of being fully set up to cater for that.
That's very generous of you.
Yes, no, thank you. I think
I think we understand that slide.
Yeah, I think we've got covered that slide. Recognition of costs would probably be rectify the embankment. So yeah, I think that's what he wanted to bring across.
Yeah.
Working together again.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably come to an agreement again. So,
Yeah.
kia ora. I think we've covered most of our issues that we wanted to cover today. So hopefully we don't have any more come up, but yeah, we've got today. I think you've left us with promising and what do you call it? Have left us knowing that you are willing to work with us. Yeah. So, kia ora, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, whānau.
You did a great job. It's always hard to be
you.
the one that
Don't
has to go through the slides.
Might be out of a job for a day.
Look, thank you for that, and thank you for. They're pretty modest demands, actually, aren't they? They're pretty modest, and let's hope that we can, on those smaller issues, make some considerable progress. But I think that wider issue around the long-term effects on waterways is a big issue for all councils. All right. So, what do we have to do with that? Do we have to? We receive it? It's a recommendation to receive it. Thank you. Destiny's moving. You seconding, Whenua? Okay, so I'll put that motion, which is to to receive the report. Do we want to put in the recommendation that the team follow up with a visit, get someone here to have a look? Well, there's two things. We want someone to have a look at that log and the bank, and we want someone to come and then have a look at the footpath and the lighting. Do you want to have a and look at the reserve for playground equipment? So do you want to put that do you want to make a recommendation? Yeah. She can word that. I know you can word that. And the second are happy with that? Yeah. Okay. Right, so all those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much, and thank you to those of you that took part in the discussion. It's always It's really hard being the person up here making the presentation when you've got all your whānau sitting around wanting to add things, so it was good to get all of that kōrero from everyone else. Okay, Carlo, so this is where you're going to tell us where you're up to with all the others.
Yes, and I'll try not to make it too long-winded.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have a copy of our progress report in front of you. Try and sort of give anything new commentary in green, especially where we've sort of made a step forward. In terms of road noise at Wairoa, we have repurposed a noise wall from the Tauranga Eastern Link, and it's up there, so we're just working with the whānau, let them assess that and see what other support might be required for that.
Good.
It's good to have that progress. In terms of the housing out there that they've raised, it is a little bit of a slow burn because we rely on different trusts. It's a little bit similar to here. There's a variety of different trusts, all with different aspirations and different points of readiness, but it's been key to have our public crime case manager, having Tani Brock, be able to just keep a constant conversation going with them. So it might look in here a little bit like we're having another hui, but we kind of do need to do that to help bring them along. And sometimes they're quite a long way from where they would be able to build, but we can keep providing more and more information. We're certainly unlocking more information there. Across the road at Portarefi, we're pretty close to securing 6th of March, I think, is when an evening meeting. Ngāti Kahu have said, we've probably done the last 3 in council. They might want us to go out to the marae. So we're just seeing if the marae is actually available for that evening hui, just to try and get everybody. And in terms of marae maintenance, it's tied in with getting the cycleway finished. So there has been some process required to work in with some of those landowners to bring that cycleway underneath the bridge. And in keeping with that, there's also been some agreements required for the gear we're going to need to put there as well. So working in with those landowners about having an easement to have the gear on there at the same time. It should get some real progress happening pretty quickly now, because I think all the nuts and bolts of that have been agreed, so Nick Denia's just putting together those agreements. Over in terms of the Southern Pipeline, that first official hui is next month. And in Whareroa, there has been an application around some management of the boat ramp area. I think it's looking pretty positive with having managed entry in and out of there to restrict the boy racer access. Sounds like some of the industry has been in support of the issues that Whareroa has raised, and so just working through the process now of establishing a gate there and renaming that road. The emergency exit, there's still some discussions with how we might manage where we need to go over a piece of either Māori land or possibly Hukapak's land near it, so we're just negotiating, trying to limit the impact on Māori land, similar to what we would do with this road. But all in progress. There's a bit more stuff there. I think across the Papakainga, issues that have been raised, the main thing is there's ongoing discussions, and there's a lot of blocks that are now talking together more, so it gives us a better idea of how we might support an infrastructure when you start talking about 100 or 150 homes across 3 or 4 blocks as opposed to 10 or 5 or whatever it might be. But that Papakainga case manager has been a key resource for that.
Is that just a new position, the Papakainga?
We put it in place in about August last year.
Right, okay.
And so probably the key for last year is we had to still get some trust built up to show that we weren't going to overshare any information, but it's had some success. So we've extended that into this year. So we should see more people building. We've had a steady stream of people accessing the Papakainga grant though.
Oh, have we?
But not at the numbers we need yet.
No.
But I think it'll
as long as it's still ticking over, because I think we're up for a review of that. I think it was in for 2 years, and we've got a review whether to keep it going. Yeah, okay. So if it's being used, we'll keep it going, and then it will build up.
Yes.
Anyway.
Perfect. And then probably the other one to note is that with Ngāti Pukenga and some of the issues that were raised, and Des raised an issue about water, and we have that sort of crossover on our boundary, that's a bit of an issue there. We'll actually restart those discussions. Ngāti Pukenga's got a new board and new co-chairs now, and there's a bit of a wave of enthusiasm that's coming through there. So we've reached out with them to meet with them to start off this year, and we'll have to bring them up to speed with the discussions. So that might either start it over a little bit, or they might pick that up and run with it. We expect a letter.
Okay.
Probably other things. Yeah. And so the other thing that we'd like to acknowledge is that Portuguese has a new CEO. So we went along to the Pōheri for Spencer Webster last week, and I understand Portuguese got a catch-up meeting with the commissioners today. So you'll meet Spencer and decide if he's a likeable chap or not, but I expect he'll be pretty progressive in his thinking, and so we're excited about that. Other than that, unless there's any other questions.
Probably not a question really, but the presentation today by Whenua Ruahine will be included on their list of keys.
Yep, so probably good for the whānau to hear. So whenever we have the haukainga presentations at these hui, we make a list of some of the actions that we've talked out loud about, but also other ones that we'll be thinking about that might unlock some support, and they'll drop into this. So these are all public meetings. When the next one comes up, maybe Leanne and others, Alison will be able to share with you, because these are publicly available agendas, and you'll be able to track it in there even if you can't come to the hui, so that we make sure it's on a radar and it doesn't get lost, and if somebody leaves or anything like that, it's still on that radar. So we'll follow that through. A key part of it will be that Te Pautaka Wainga will come and meet with your committee, and we'll try and do that in the next couple of weeks, so that we map out, okay, here's the person we're talking about, and get them out and get that moving.
Any other questions for Carlo from that list?
I just got one. For Mangatoa, the effluent, the site effluent, yeah, there was a proposal to either connect, and then the Marae said, well, we prefer to have an on-site system. Yeah. Where's that got to?
Last week we tried to organise a meeting with you guys about, I think, because there's going to be two different buildings with that, and we're going to rebuild the whole Marae complex. So we can't do that at the same time.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think,
makes sense.
I'm going to try and organise a meeting with you guys. Vince, Linda, and Donna.
Okay. Couple.
So the other thing I can say, and just because I sort of cheekily poked the nose out recently, was at Te Puni, they've got a new wave of staff in there, and they've been reaching out and asked them whether or not there's some support in place to get their wharekiwi up and running. And they talked about Oranga Marae. I think you guys are maybe a bit further along than these guys. And the two we had on our radar was Tamapahore and here. So it's good to hear that these guys are in that process too. Because then when Te Puni Kōkiri is able to show what they're able to do, it's easier for us to pick out how we could support that. We can put some edges on it. So
sounds like we might be a step and a half.
yeah.
Once we've had our AGM and we have all of the accounts in June, at the end of June, we should be right funding from there and
So if we come back to that wastewater system, you know, I think up until now we've been supportive of reassigning the cost that, or the budget that we've assigned to connecting to an appropriate on-site. I think we've just got to have this hui and then be able to see what their timelines look like, so we don't do something and then undo it. And that might mean that there might be some boots that might need to roll forward because it may not be used in a particular time frame, because we need to align it with Tauranga Marae.
Makes sense.
And the other thing is we might find if TPK actually covers some of the same stuff, we might want to consider how we realign our budget, because we'll still achieve what we wanted to achieve rather than lose it. It might actually support the wider development there, but we'll get some details.
Okay.
Couple. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else off that report? That's good. Well, it's good to see some of that stuff being able to be ticked off.
Yes,
really
like
good.
green.
Madam Chair, has it been moved?
No, it hasn't. I was just going to ask. You happy to move? Ngā tere. And Buddy's seconding. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Okay, Martelli, that brings us to your report.
Best for last.
Yes.
I'm just going to keep mine brief. I am aware of the time, but ngā mihi kia koutou haukanga, kia whakataka tēnā koe te rangatira last. It's lovely to see you here. And yeah, so I just wanted to present my report, and I'm actually happy for my report to be taken as read. However, I'm also happy for the members if they want to make comment on the report as well. But I will make some quick summaries on some of the points. And if we go straight to page 2 around the submissions, and I know Murray raised about the Three Waters kaupapa, so submissions were put into the for the water services legislation bill, and I've just pulled out the 7 principles for this particular report. That's the good thing about cut and paste. So I highlight the principles for the bills and also the following 2 bills for the Natural Built and Environment Spatial Planning Bill submission. Does anyone want me to read out the principles? Okay. All right. And then we go to, I'd like to go to number 3, which is the key priorities for the next coming months. I also want to include in there that it's continued work and progress for the ALP, which is really awesome. We've got the climate one to come through yet. And I think, take my hat off to Rangapu members who have been on those.
Not just them, we've all been there.
It's been a huge job, but actually well rewarding. And also coming up with the local government reforms, it's going to be dropping out shortly. Resource management policy that Carlo raised earlier. Professional development that is coming up with Rangapu members at the end of this month. And refreshing our website. It's a big job. The Rangapu website hasn't been pretty much active in the last 3 years. And so the administrator and myself actually come together to try and refresh and change things around, but there's also more photos up there that actually need to be taken or changed. And there's also the Māori Housing Conference coming up in March. It's in Rotorua this time. So, Tauranga.
There was a kind order appointed a new person in charge here in Tauranga who's trying to get around the project. So it would be good if we could have a meeting with her at some point.
That now?
No, she's in my round.
Sharon. Oh, Sharon. Oh, yes. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, just get in touch. Yeah. So there's a couple of them, Rangapu members that will be attending that conference. Also importantly is the election of 2024 Tauranga City that is coming up. I attended or joined in on an online meeting with some of you will know, Stacey Te Puehe Rose, who used to be the councillor for the regional, Bopena Regional Council. So now he's working as a the community advisor, I think for you, for the Electoral Commission. And so we were online just last week with Coral and I can't remember the other ladies who were there. Yeah. So that was really good. And so the outcomes of this, around the last local elections and the low turnout of voters. So we talked quickly about that, and also how to attract quality candidates, increase voter registration, and participation among Māori and youth in general. Resourcing material and create positive messaging to improve communication and roadshows like Hui on Marae, using our Facebook pages and so forth. But at the moment the Electoral Commission is concentrating their efforts for this year's general election. And,
yes, it's a bit busy. They are
busy. But they're wanting to meet with us today with the staff planning for next year. So looking good, Whānau, and I think Whitty was mentioning the other day that he's quite keen to pull together a Tauranga Mona strategy for Māori, around what we've got just raised here. So yeah, and that is my report. Are there any questions or any of the other two members want to raise anything?
The special planning bill, the submission on that, I think we might have to put a bit more effort into maybe a separate kind of submission for the actual special planning act itself. Because part of that for us, Whenua, we'd like to have a repository or an inventory of what sites, significant Māori sites have been lost since the RMA put on, because what we're seeing that could happen to us is that this new planning act will come into force, will come into operation, starting like it's brand new and those sites have been lost or nothing, and we're going to start from scratch there. That's how it looks like from some of our perspective. And so that's why we're asking for an inventory of the sites that have been lost, so we can link that back to what's the word, the compensation part of the bill.
I think, we should have a look into it, and it would be good if the Rangapu had some commentary. My understanding is a 10-year transition, and that so that the national planning framework is going to be picked up and moved into the new system, which you would assume would preserve all that. But you're right, we all know what assuming does to us. So
all we're saying is we've lost so much now,
and you want to make sure that it's
brand new plan, we start from scratch like.
Well, CJ's sitting there, so I think we all understand the same, but it doesn't hurt to ask the questions, and certainly I think it's worth following up.
I think from my understanding is that there is going to be a 10-year transition. So from the RMA, so it doesn't mean RMA just is completely gone on day one. That the national planning framework that'll be transitioned in, and stage one is happening sometime I think mid this year, and there's another couple of stages. The preparation of regional spatial strategies, they'll take time to work through, and then the regional plans will also need to be worked through. But in the meantime, the current planning framework and the plans will remain until that transition occurs.
And I would expect that the significant Māori sites and cultural sites will all transfer from the existing framework across, so that I wouldn't see if they would go, they would transfer across to the new framework.
That's existing, because until it's a new planning document, you will be adding the ones that were taken off.
But have we sent in that submission? I mean, it has gone.
Well, I've extended the special planning to the 17th, I think.
I think ours is gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can work on that.
So maybe take it up through Rangapu. Yeah. Might be the best place.
If you send us a copy of your submission, then there's opportunities to speak to it.
When we speak to our submission. Yeah.
Just for the committee's awareness, sorry, Kiss. One of the long-standing things I know is in the back of my mind that Tangata Whenua brought up, just because we're talking about transferring over those planning regimes, is that probably only about 10% of what we're pitched for the significant Māori areas landed in them.
So that's what you were talking about. Is there another opportunity to discuss some of that?
Yeah, so I think it's good that they capture the regimes, but I can see these guys going, well, we're still trying to resolve which ones made it or didn't, and it might be a smaller list that we now know should have been in there or could have been in there. Sorry, Des.
So I see it with the main issue is net loss, and going through the cultural sites, and going through the transitional and the reform. When sites go into the plan, they may be removed in a promulgated process, and that may be the case that they're lost during their process, but there is a public record of that which will help going forward because of the promulgated draft plan. But going forward, and how I see the spatial planning work done with the NBA is that the NBA kind of guides the consents, and there's a process there which they used to have Schedule 4, assessment of effects. Now it's broken down into a number of schedules, and one of those schedules is Schedule 5. And it goes off to say, some people may like it or not, or whether we've been doing it or not. It's cultural heritage offsets and compensation. So it goes with the RMA, current RMA change, avoid, remedy, mitigate, offset and compensate. So it's a measurement tool that we use, and I say we because I've been involved in a number of consents where we have biodiversity offsetting. So it just has, it's the same legislative framework, but strategically it may different because it's a cultural context. And I think what we're trying to get up to play on a CTWF amongst the two different forms, including the Rangapu, is a level of understanding and our exposure to development. Because some who are not exposed to development might say, no, we have to identify everything, knowing that everything may be protected. But it's in the case, not everything go according to a lot of monitors here, a lot of kaitiaki, nothing always goes according to plan. And the monitors report and the kaumātua report is actually the true reflection, which is ratified by the Historic Places Act, which is Heritage New Zealand, by the heritage recorded losses. So I think there's a fair measure to be able to do that. It just, as we're pointing out, it just takes the capability and time to be able to do that part of the work. And the concern here, because I picked up this morning, is trying to get this information through at these crucial times through to the reform in and around submissions. But I think if we keep communicating where we're at, it'll become a priority in order to address for whether it's CTWF, Rangapu and or council. But I think it'll have to be
all three.
All three. Because of the regional, in the spatial plan, you've got the regional planning committee, which is another thing, but it's definitely something that Tangata Whenua would be top on their list as a priority. So it's just Tauranga's had a lot of exposure to the influences of consenting and applications.
Yeah. All right, so we will make a special note of that. Yeah. Okay, so that's Te Rangapu's report. Would someone, are you moving that we receive that report? Someone second that? Shared second that? Thank you. Any further discussion on that? All those in favour say aye. That's carried. And then that brings us to the general business item of Three Waters. So in the Rangapu's presentation report today is their submission. Your submission has gone in on the Three Waters. What we've tried to do from TCC's point of view is make sure that we are together in our submissions through to government, and we've managed that to date. Although we've just got a little bit of an extension, and you put yours in, but we're still, I think, all but one area where we are together. So we've had one bill passed. We have one act in place that sets up the entities. And actually the transition into that, the work that all the councils are doing, is quite well advanced. And that's just a machine that keeps chugging along. Regardless of what any of us might think about, we have a responsibility to ensure that Tauranga City Council is prepared whatever happens. So that's all. That transition is chugging along. We have the other two bills now before the Select Committee, and the submissions closed on Friday of the 17th. So Tarangapu's put theirs in, and we're about to put ours in. We've worked our way through that, and then we have the political scenario down in Wellington, where we're not quite sure. We thought Labour was definitely progressing it, but now with a new Prime Minister, he's having a review on that, and What isn't helping with that is that the new Minister for Local Government is also the emergency management minister, and he's been a bit busy in the last 3 weeks, so he hasn't quite got to the three waters. And then we have the opposition of the National Party who's saying they're going to repeal and reform, and we don't have any idea of what that looks like. So, so in the meantime, we have to prepare the organisation for the change and the entity that has been set up, Entity B. We are lobbying to have that based in Tauranga rather than Hamilton, because we think that would actually be better, but you know, who knows. There's been a chief executive appointed to that entity, who is a man by the name of Vaughan Payne. I dealt with him he was the chief executive of the Opotiki District Council, and then he moved over to, I think he was chief executive for the regional council in Waikato.
He was the first tūpakeri advisor for Smart.
Ah, right, so he knows the area well. So that's helpful, and we know they're in the process of setting up the precursor to the board for all those entities. So, does that bring you up to date with where we are?
In terms of three waters?
In terms of three waters?
Not quite. I'm appointed to the political pitch and giving a review on the historical account of what's going on. I'd like to do as a theory. That's the problem now. I'll support this one. And one of the key submissions I've got is for the Internal Affairs to continue the discussions. Because what's happened over the last few weeks confirms of all the doubters that there's an issue with three waters. And of course, so the political pitch, it's becoming easier for both parties to agree that we have a three waters issue. The political pitch is that when three waters and this partnership started, that started way back in 1983, actually by the national government. The minister from Marlborough kicked it all off in terms of that partnership, and that was in response to the Central North Island Treaty claims, where all those lands were taken to build power dams. And of course, when it went through the Waitangi Tribunal, all the Central North Island tribes got all that land back, Central North Island. And that's critical, because that's where the Waikato River and all that flows.
And the Rangataiki.
And the other pitch is that the Naya Mahuze is in a very good position. She's a minister, so she's sitting in the front bench as a Minister of External Affairs. And now on the back bench she can throw stones. And throw stones, the key to it is the Waikato River. The Waikato River was based on Tangata, which is on every bed. There's a tribe and there's a council. And of course, the Waikato River is not managed by Tangata, it's managed by all those collectives along the Waikato River. And that was fundamentally the key to the Bill Baby's Parliament. And as things go along, you will find that there will be support. It's not about party politics. It's about how to play snooker in Parliament. Because there's a whole lot of coloured balls out there.
That's right.
And at the moment there's a lot of red balls. Blue balls are on the side. The gold balls have been potted. They may rise again. We're talking about these all first. So it's about playing the game of snooker down there and devolving party politics. Because party politics it's only exactly that. They want to go to Parliament, so they cook up all sorts of stories. But the real issues is how we deal with Parliament. Basically, it's
Yeah, absolutely right. Yep.
Not true, but the three waters issues, it is. Our biggest problems as Māoris is that we're hooked into mana whenua, and mana whenua is a thing called property rights, and this issue is not about property rights, it's about customary rights in the lapse of the laws.
Yes, well, I don't disagree with anything that you've said, except that New Zealand First is a gold ball. That would be the only thing I'd take issue with. You're absolutely right on all the rest of it. And from our position here in TCC, we've got to juggle those snooker balls, and you know the election will be later this year, and so our responsibility is to make sure that whatever happens, the people of Tauranga City who live here are protected and are ready for whatever whatever legislation we get. And in the meantime, our role has been to do that on one hand and prepare our organisation, but on the other to reflect our community concerns. So we've done that by working with Rangapu, but we've also listened to the wider community of ratepayers who are concerned about the accountability back to the people that have built the assets, and we've been reflecting that to government all the way through. So yes, you're right, it is a bit of a game, it seems like that at times.
Just the last point I want to raise is about the social media, skim, Skype and scam. We got a social media, how we address that, I don't know, because at the moment, the media, you know, the media as it is now, it's not even with news media for the fish and chip shop, to wrap up fish and chips. That's how bad this media is. It promotes itself in a way that a lot of those ones are contracted to service themselves as opposed to the facts. And of course that's a sporting thing, it's how we address that. How we address the media.
I don't disagree. I think it's a bigger issue that you and I can solve today. But you're right, and of course, you know, I only have to look at my grandchildren don't have normal television channels in their house. They have Netflix and Neon and Disney, and so they never see the news on television. I'm talking to my son in Wellington last night and saying, gosh, you know, because we come from Hawke's Bay, look at the terrible floods with the rivers there, the Tutaikura, I couldn't recognise it. And he said, he's looking at them on his phone because he's not watching television. So yes, they rely on what comes over through social media to get facts and news, and it's not necessarily fact-checked or correct.
Spin to win.
What was your description of it? Spin, and...
Skip, Skype and...
Skip,
Skype and scam.
Skip, Skype and scam.
Very good. Okay, well on that note, I think that's probably us for today, dead on 12:30. Who's going to close the meeting with the karakia? We're going to ask Lance to close us.
Lance. How come we talking?
Te ara I ana kia koe tēnei hui, kati tēnei hui, ara te whānau kei konei. Nā ki te rātou katoa, I roto te rore ki te rātou pare, tēnei rā. Tēnei kene ratu rungi te mātou, tamata wāre tapu. Amen.
Kia ora. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your input, and thank you for having us here today. Really appreciate it.